More news coming in. Delhi Women's Panel Chief has written to Prime Minister seeking change in remission and parole rules. Swati Maliwal's letter, in which she says the release of the rapist of Bilkis Bano and the parole of Rahim has broken the spirit of every Nirbhaya in the country. I have written a letter to the Prime Minister urging him to change the remission and parole rules. Along with this, there has been a demand for the rapist of Bilkis Bano and Rahim to be sent back to jail. This is the Delhi Commission for Women telling the Prime Minister that there should be a change in rules. Essentially, remission and parole rules should be changed, is what Swati Maliwal has said in her letter. The release of the rapist of Bilkis Bano and the parole of Rahim has broken the spirit of every Nirbhaya in the country. I have written a letter to the Prime Minister urging him to change the remission and parole rules. Along with this, there has been a demand for the rapist of Bilkis Bano and Rahim to be sent back to jail. Milan Sharma is getting us more details on that story. Milan, these examples that Swati Maliwal has given in this letter that she has written to the Prime Minister has not just put women but the entire country to shame. In that sense, these are some very rightful demands and suggestions that she is making, isn't it?
Well, Sneha, the Delhi Commission of Women Chief Swati Maliwal has written this letter to the Prime Minister to sort of amend or change the rules of remission and parole, at least for rapists of children as well as women. And in the recent cases of whether it's Bilkis Bano and in another case Gurmeet Rahim as well, where the convicted rapists have been sent out on parole, they have been given remission by the governments themselves, speaks volumes of the fact that what kind of punishment is meted out to those who are rapists in a country like India. And which is why she has written out this letter to the Prime Minister asking the government itself at the central level to change the rules of remission and parole for such people who are accused and convicted of such heinous crimes against women as well as children. Because, the children are also abused and raped, and she's not just talking about women in this case. Of course, the connection there seems to be with the Bilkis Bano that she has mentioned in the letter. She's also mentioned Gurmeet Rahim, who's also been sent out on parole. And these are the kind of laws that needs to be changed in a country where we do talk about safety of women and security of women. And at least for convicted rapists, the laws need changing is what she's demanding from the Prime Minister.
Yes, because these are developments of the past that are rather embarrassing. In that sense, we have had those are now out on parole like Gurmeet Rahim, who are in fact holding satsangs. Political leaders are paying obeisance. Milan, these developments in the last few days, both in the Bilkis Bano case and Gurmeet Rahim, has invited a lot of flack.
Well, of course, in the case of Bilkis Bano, at least we know that, the state of Gujarat had granted that remission after serving a considerable number of sentences for all the convicts in the Bilkis Bano case. But of course, the opposition has been talking about it. We have leaders like Asaduddin Owaisi who've been talking about it. But in that sense, this does require a change in laws of remission and parole for such people. But of course, within the act of the Law Commission as well as the constitution that we follow in the country, there is remission and parole given to convicts after a considerable number of years have been served by them in jail. In this particular case, of course, acts of murder and heinous crime and rapes are all seen under one umbrella. But here Swati Maliwal writes to the Prime Minister to address the concern and safety of women and children, particularly in the case of people like Gurmeet Rahim, who are rape convicts, who are garlanded when they come out of prison, and a celebratory measure is put in place for them. And these are the kind of messages that are being sent out to women in general in India who require safety and security from the law of the state, from the police as well. And which is why this kind of amendment is a big deal. It could happen, it could not happen. We can't say that, of course. But of course, it's an appeal at the moment in the letter.
All right, I'm thanking you for the moment, Milan, getting us all of those details.